And joining me now with reaction is Republican rising star, the GOP's nominee for the Senate in the great state of Florida. Marco Rubio is back with us. Marco, good to see you. Welcome to New York.
Glad to be here with you.
All right. So, class warfare, does it work?
No, it doesn't. The American people aren't in any mood for this. They certainly aren't in Florida. People understand that this is a time to be serious about keeping all the things that make America exceptional and unique, keeping those things in place. And entrepreneurship is that thing that makes us different. You know, every country in the world has rich people. Every country in the world has big companies or big corporations. What sets us apart is entrepreneurship, the ability to start a business from the spare bedroom of your home. You lose that with the kind of tax policies that this administration wants to follow.
Did you notice last week the president was, he was almost mocking millionaires and billionaires and the wealthy, and I'm thinking, all right, so let's say they don't extend the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy. It seems to me that, you know, for all the years that I worked in restaurants since I was 12 years old, for all the years I worked in construction as I was working my way through college, it seems that all that money is not going to be available for, I never got a job from a poor person. Let me put it that way.
But here's the misnomer in them calling it the wealthy. The first thing is these folks represent, the folks they're going to raise taxes on.
Small business.
First of all, small businesses. People that are organized under the S Corporation statute. So that's a lot of people. And the second thing, a lot of employers, people that create jobs for families. The second thing is it's these folks, the individuals, represent about 30% of consumer spending in America. Consumer spending is 70% of our economy. So this is a disaster. And the truth is the Obama administration and this Congress have ushered in a disastrous 18-month economic policy record, and now they're facing an election. They're trying to cover up for it through this kind of heated rhetoric.
So a lot of good things have happened in your race. Now, when Charlie Crist first became an independent, the polls tightened quite a bit. You now have a big double-digit lead. Now, Charlie Crist, by my count, has flipped on health care and stimulus, and the latest today is, you know, gay adoptions. In 2006, he wasn't for it. Now, apparently, he's for it. What happened to Charlie Crist?
Well, you know, obviously he'll have to answer that question. All I can tell you is this, you know, for 20 years he's been a Republican. I was running against him the first 4 months of this year as a Republican when he wanted to be Ronald Reagan and everybody like that. And then he decided he couldn't win the primary and he switched parties. And now he's running as some sort of third-party, mythical, whatever. The reality of it is he's an opportunist, and he's using this as an opportunity. He's looking basically for how can he extend his political career, and he thinks that by taking multiple sides on important issues is the way to do that. It's, you know.
A lot of conservatives were concerned about comments that John Boehner made, the House Minority Leader, this weekend on Face the Nation, when he said, well, if I had to, I would take the extension of the Bush tax cuts, even if it did not include, quote, the wealthy, the small business people you were talking about, and the top 1% that pays 40% of the tax bill, federal tax bill. Would that be a bad idea?
Let me tell you why it's a bad idea in my mind in terms to even talk about it in those terms, and that is because of the following. I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to answer a hypothetical question. We've all been there. If you're in politics, it's the worst kind of question to have to answer. But here's the reality and why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. Because I want to prevent those kinds of false choices. You know, this thing's going to be voted on first in the Senate, and the real question is not about whether you're going to have one that's only middle tax cuts or not. The issue is going to be what are these Democrats going to do, and growing number of them in the Senate, for example. Joe Lieberman came out today and said he thinks it's a bad idea to raise taxes on anybody in this environment. There's going to be amendments on the floor. There's going to be a plan voted on the floor of the Senate, we hope, that will require them to make that choice openly. What are they going to do? Because in Florida, for example, the gubernatorial nominee for the Democrats is saying the president is wrong.
But, you know, it's interesting because the president now, 3 weeks ago, probably most people in America didn't know really who John Boehner is. Now they've turned him into a household name. The media is attacking his smoking, his tan, and everything else. So I think it's interesting. They need either Newt Gingrich or Sarah Palin or George Bush, somebody they can demonize. One last question: why, if you could explain in the minute we have left, why do tax cuts increase revenues to the government, and why every time we cut taxes do we see an unleashing of the entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, because it grows the economy. Basically, people are incentivized to go out and start businesses or expand existing businesses. And in this environment, it's not just the tax cuts, because this is the existing tax rates. All we're talking about doing here is keeping the existing tax rates in place. It's about providing certainty. It's about allowing small businesses, the dreamers, the entrepreneurs, to know what the rules of the game are going to be so they can play this game. But what this administration is doing is creating a tremendous amount of uncertainty, and it's keeping people on the sideline and discouraging them from creating jobs.
All right, Marco Rubio, good luck.
Thank
we'll
you.
be watching very closely.
Thank you.
50 days to go. You glad it's almost over?
49 almost after midnight.
Okay.